So, Andy, super excited to be here with you today. Andy Miller, OMG, you've been working with Objective Management Group for many years. Also an author, one of my favorite books, Science of Hiring. You've written a number of books, but this is a great read, quota busting, awesome for setting up a sales hiring process. In fact, we use it often for setting up any of the seat processes across the organization as a baseline. So it's great to have you. We could have all kinds of tape for the next hour for all the things that you've done, CNN, all the rest of it. So I will just to let people go and look at the links when we're done with this. But thanks for coming, thanks for being a part of this.
Thanks for having me. It's going to be fun.
It's going to be fun. So let's start. We got a topic here that I wanted to bring up with you today, and it's called about innovative prospecting techniques. And we talk a little bit in Objective Management Group around the volume of salespeople that are weak, okay? The volume of salespeople that are serviceable, good, and elite. And this whole idea of prospecting, cold calling comes into this, all the rest of it. And in a world today where cold calls and emails maybe aren't enough. I mean, I don't know what world in sales where they're always enough, but it's difficult. I wanted to get in a little bit today to explore some of the innovative ways we're reaching new prospects. So one of the questions I'd like to kick off with is, what are some of the most creative approaches you've seen used to engage prospects?
Well, I'm a fan, and nobody seems to do it, of lumpy mail. Lumpy mail's been around for a long time, and what is lumpy mail?
Yeah, you might want to start with a definition.
Yeah, let's start with what is lumpy mail? Lumpy mail is where you send something in the mail in an envelope that's
wait, just make sure I'm clear. The post office.
Snail mail.
The snail, okay.
You sent. I mean, this is disruptive technology we're talking about, and I'm not being facetious, because nobody sends mail anymore. When's the last time you got a handwritten letter or a card? Or, I mean, it doesn't have they either send you an email, or they send you a text, or they send you an in-mail on LinkedIn, but it's all electronic. Nobody takes the time. And it may be nobody writes anymore, so their penmanship is terrible and you can't read it anyways. I call that encrypted handwriting. But yeah, I am a fan of send them a package, because packages get through and packages get opened. Now, here's the thing. People love email, right? Because they can buy a list of, and I'm just going to exaggerate it, they can buy a list of 10,000 people they want to reach, and they can spray and pray, and
pump and dump.
Yep. And it's there's a lot of questions there, right? I mean, does it get through spam filters, or does it even get through the internet service provider, or do they flag it as spam? And if they flag it as spam and you used your company domain name, guess what? Every email gets flagged as spam, including your invoices and communications with real customers and customer support, and all that gets flagged. So I am not a fan of massive spray and pray, and you can't target the message. So I think I would rather go small with quality instead of big with quantity.
You told a story once that I really appreciate, which is the surfboard story.
Oh yeah. So
I think this would be a worthy situation for a surfboard story.
My business partner and I had a VP of sales that we wanted to reach. I won't mention the name of the company. And we did a little bit of research, and we found out that he was into surfing. So we went and got a surfboard, not the big massive one, but half size.
Yeah.
And the post office will send anything if you stick postage on it and address it. So we wrote the guy's name and address on the front, and our return address up in the left corner, and a letter on the back. And then we went to the post office to get them the postage. And by the way, it does not have to be wrapped. And they sent it to him. And of course, he had to pick it up, and he's walking down the hallway with a surfboard, and everybody's looking at him. And the goal is to call him on the day or the day after it arrives, so it's still fresh in his mind. What it does is it greases the skids.
Yeah.
Is it guaranteed you're going to get a conversation? No, but you most likely are. Is it
Yeah.
guaranteed that you're going to get a sale? Well, it depends on how well you've researched them and how well your conversation goes. So, would you rather send out 10,000 emails or would you rather send out one surfboard? Because we did get a conversation. Now, part of the secret of prospecting, you have to know your audience. And, so the quality of your list matters. And I'd rather go small. I'd rather go something like 25 or 50. But do you really know who they are? Do you really know what's important to them? You really know what the struggles they're going through? Or can you take a pretty good educated guess? Can you customize your letter or your note so it hits the bullseye versus it gets close? And then then put it in an envelope with a little bit of a lump. We had one client who did he made it an adventure, and he took remember those little balsa wood airplanes when you were a
Oh
kid,
yeah. Yeah.
and he bought these balsa wood airplanes, for I don't know, 50 cents, a dollar each, whatever they were, and he broke them up into little parts. So and it sent a little map, and the map had a message on it. And one week he'd send the map with maybe the wings, and the next week a map with the fuselage, and the next week with the propeller, and the next week with the wheels, and the week after that with the rubber band. And each one had a map with a different message, and then they would follow up, with each thing that they sent. And you don't have to do a lot of those. So and it's unique. I did one of these for myself. I did the Magic 8 Ball. You remember the Magic 8 Ball?
Oh
You
yeah.
shake it out,
Yeah.
you ask a question, shake it, turn it over, right? So I was going after VPs of sales. So mine was, do you know how your pipeline is going to look this quarter? Ask the Magic 8 Ball, and you can
Well, you
get
know the
those.
stats on that, right?
Yes, and
It's low.
you can
Just in
get these
case nobody on the
customized.
call knows, it's super low.
Yeah, it's super low. So, but you can get the messages inside customized if you want to spend the
Oh,
money.
nice. Yeah.
One was a bank money bag. You put your money in or checks for depositing. One was a miniature trash can about the size of my coffee mug. Um, and I got shredded money from Department of Treasury because they take the old bills out of circulation, they shred it up, and you can buy like a 10-pound bag for or $40, I think it was at the time. So when they open up, it's real shredded money. It smells like it. It feels like it. So you can do these things. And I called the secretaries, um, and I'd say, "Hi, this is Andy Miller. I'm trying to reach so and so." And they go, "Who are you? Who are you with?" And I'm going, I'm the one that sent the Magic 8 Ball." And
Yeah.
they'll go, "Oh, that's all I had to say." And I said, "Can I ask you a couple questions?" And they go, "Yeah." I said, "What did you think of that?" And they said, "I thought it was clever."
Yeah.
And I said, "And where did you send it?" Because I double teamed. I sent one to the CEO and one to the sales VP and told them that I was sending one to each to get them to talk. And every time the assistant said it went to the person you were sending it to. No, nobody redirected it. Said, "Did you open it?" No, didn't open it. Um, so it got through. They thought it was clever. And then when I would call, they wouldn't block me. They would say, "Yeah, let me schedule time, or let me put you through to their email, or sorry, their voicemail." But highly effective. But to me, I know everybody's real big on AI right now. AI is kind of early and it's waiting to see how it's shaped up. But somewhere along the way, a human has to talk to a human, and AI is not going to sell to AI.
Well, and so going back to it, I think one of the things that always is interesting to me is how we have this feeling that we've got in most cases, in many account cases, it's not like you have to add a massive amount of accounts a year. Like if you really think about A, B, C type of accounts, if you really think about the number of A accounts a typical salesperson has, 20, 50 maybe, whatever it is, the counts that make up 80 to 90% of the business, it's usually not a massive number. And even if you're trying to add another 10 to 20% of revenue this year, your number of new actual acquired accounts is fairly low unless you're in a B2C space and it's a lot of product that you're trying to move a lot of. But in that case, you might be more of a marketing play anyway. But in the pure, let's say B2B, manufacturing, that kind of sales, like I had a client last night, we had coffee, and it's like, if I added one in a year, I would literally have another account that would be 30% growth in the business. And so part of that goes back to your quality and quantity standpoint of what's important, how far do you have to take it? It's most cases people don't take enough time to sit down and really actually think about what they need. And then with that, target the person so tightly that you can do something like a surfboard because you only need 4 or 5 new accounts.
Yeah, we did a surfboard, we did a basketball, we did a guy was really into baseball, so we got a couple signed baseballs from professionals that on teams that he followed. I mean, it's a little bit of work, thinking ahead. It's not a transactional thing where I go, you think about it, oh, that's what I want to do, and then tomorrow it's done. It takes a little bit of thing, but it's like dating. It's just if it's somebody that you're really interested in, you're going to try to customize your message and what you do and make it romantic or something that he or she's interested in, or you're not just going to go, I, you know, let's go to Starbucks like you've done with 100 other people before.
Well, and so from that perspective, if you think about a sales team and effectively leveraging social media, content marketing, where is the place for that, right? How should that tie into prospecting efforts? What what should they be doing to effectively leverage some of those tools, which so many are using now? Like you talked about email and these other things. What is the time and place to effectively use those tools?
Well, I think I have a slightly different perspective on that. So let's stick with manufacturing specifically for a second. So I'm a sales rep and I'm marketing on LinkedIn or posting content and all those kind of things. But I have to ask myself, who in who in the company am I trying to reach? Am I trying to reach the guys and gals in the shop working the floor? Or am I trying to get to somebody who's supervisors? Or am I trying to get to the C-suite? Because if they're the C-suite, odds are they have a LinkedIn profile, but it's not active. So whatever content I do, they're probably not going to see it. If I'm trying to reach the guys and gals on the shop floor, they probably don't even have a LinkedIn profile. So yeah, to me, it's in marketing. I learned years ago. The question is, who's my herd and where does my herd hang out? If I'm going to go deer hunting, I'm going to go to the woods or a farm, right? I'm not going to the mall. But if I want to buy a nice shirt or something great for my wife, I'm not going to a farmer's field. I'm going to the mall. So it really is, who's my herd? Where do they hang out? How do they, what vehicle do they use to consume information? And that's where I need to be. And then how do they consume it? And that shapes what's my way to market and influence.
It's interesting. It kind of the classic, it's a hammer looking for a nail, right? So much of that now, you said AI earlier, and understand, in my organization, we have literally AI certified specialists, right? And yet there are times and places for that. But if I only need the one account, why don't you just pick up the phone and make a call, right? Like, so I love that, just really understanding what tool am I really trying to use effectively for the target I'm trying to get at.
Yes. Now, and here's where I'm a little bit different. Um, so let's say you're trying to get to all three groups that I just mentioned: folks on the shop floor, supervisors, and C-suite. They're all going to go to their own places that they use to consume data, or rephrase it a different way, to research if you're credible or not. And so when they go looking, you need to be able to show up where they're looking. So do I need to be on LinkedIn posting? Yeah, I probably do. Do I need to be posting every day? No. And so what's the frequency? Is it every day, once a week, once a month? Um, all they need to see is I have a presence. They'll probably read a couple things going, does this person know what they're talking about? Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, credibility established, authority established, done. I know a lot of people spend a lot of time blogging, posting things on LinkedIn, and they're just not getting any results. Why? Because the people they really want to reach aren't on there or aren't active.
Or when they actually reach out, they don't know what to do with it. So actually, let's tie that into one of the thoughts. So
Okay.
obviously, your work, we talked earlier, you're coming from the objective management group space. You've been doing these assessments for many, many decades. You know, when you think about the evaluations, when you think about, okay, we just got done doing this prospecting, this marketing, and let's put my hat on, I'm the prospector, I'm the hunter right now looking for that next opportunity. From a short standpoint, how has objective management group and the evaluations, the assessments over the course of time really influenced how you approach people that are trying to prospect in terms of coaching and helping them get better?
Okay. That there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, I'll let
So
you run it.
so let's take let's take the salesperson first. So OMG's tools look at 21 core competencies. They fall into three buckets. There's the will to sell, which we could say is they're measuring their grit. There's the beliefs that they have, and then there's the skills that they have. So let's say we want somebody who's going to prospect and hunt. So I'm going to go look at their hunting skills. Do they have the skills? Yes, they have the skills. But will they do it? And so now I'll go look at their DNA or their beliefs. And if they have a huge need for approval, so I used to own a software company in the Netherlands. And my guys would not pick up the phone and make a call before 9 a.m. because their belief was coffee to the Dutch is sacred and you don't interrupt that sacred coffee time. So you can't call before 9 a.m. And mine is, well, if you call and coffee's that sacred, they won't pick up the phone. But what if they do? That then they expect to have a conversation for a little bit. So there's back to, do they have the skills? Will they execute on those skills? That's the belief, the need for approval. And then there's the, if they don't have the skills or do, and that need for approval, or they don't have the need for approval, the question is, are they hungry? Because if they're comfortable, why do we need to prospect if I'm doing okay? Let's pretend I built a book of business and I'm living off all the residuals that I get from my existing accounts. Why would I want to hunt? Life is good. So that's that piece. So I want to know that they have the grit. And if they're missing those other things, people with grit will go learn it. A buddy of mine said his daughter was 14, and she came in and she said, "Dad, how do you do a cold call?" And he goes, "What? How do you do a cold call?" He goes, "Why do you ask?" She goes, "You're not allowed to ask that. I just want to know, how do you do a cold call?" And he told her. And she came back the next day and said, "So I've decided that I want to be an apprentice. Well, I want to be a general manager of a professional hockey team." So she cold called all the GMs of the National Hockey Leagues in North America and got two offers to come in and be an intern when she turned 16.
That's awesome.
And that's what I mean about, how badly do you want it, right? Because if you want it badly and you're missing some things like skill or beliefs or whatever, you'll go learn it. You'll ask somebody. Now you can get on YouTube. Almost everything's on YouTube now, right? Or you'll reach out. You'll go, who would know the answer to this? Oh, my dad would know. Oh, why don't I go check with my dad? So it's that effort that they're going to put into it because it's hard to help somebody who doesn't want to help themselves, right?
Very
And,
true. And so you go back to this whole conversation, the whole idea of the prospecting techniques, and we're talking about innovative ways to prospect. And, for the presidents out there that are watching, or the sales leaders out there that are watching, so often we gravitate towards, okay, let's just push them into some target without some sort of process, or let's not set or think through strategically what we're supposed to do. Well, there's a combination of things when you think about innovation in prospecting. Some of it's the strategic piece. Some of it's the people piece, saying this is the kind of DNA, this is the kind of skill sets we need to work on to get them better at doing it. Some of it's the process piece in terms of what I do. Like when you started out the whole idea of I might only need 4 or 5 new accounts, let's send them a surfboard, right? And
yeah,
so when you go back to this idea of looking at tools and techniques to enhance the prospecting effectiveness, I always
yes,
think about it not from a trick, hey, I sent just a surfboard, but it's more of the holistic approach to strategy, people, process, and the data that I'm using to make those decisions when I look at it.
yes. And now there's one other piece from the OMG evaluation on the individual sales rep, and that is how effective are you at messaging? What's your value proposition? What's
Oh,
your
yeah.
elevator pitch? Um, so are you effective at messaging? And you've done a number of these. I've done a number of these. Every time I look at that page that has each rep and how they message things, I am horrified, horrified. And it's like, okay, do I expect their messages to be identical? No, I'm not looking for robots, but are they in the same ballpark? They're not even in the same ballpark.
But a lot of times it's even a question of do they understand the differentiating value, right? Like
Yes.
if you can't even articulate that right out of the gate, it gets to be tough.
Yeah. So here's a fun little exercise I like to do because people, too many times I hear them go, "Oh, we're a commodity," right? I'm sure you've heard that from your
Oh, yeah,
manufacturing client.
it
Oh, we're a
hurts. It
commodity.
hurts.
I know, and I'm going, okay, let's talk about commodities. Is it fair to say that paper towels are commodities?
Yeah, probably.
And yeah, it's about as close as you can get, right?
Right.
And then I'll go around the room and say, what do you buy and why? And I'll get, well, we buy Bounty because it's the quicker picker upper. Somebody else goes, I buy the cheapest thing I can find because I use it when I'm working in the garage and I spill oil. I use it for that. And somebody else will go, I hate that because that just smears things around. It doesn't pick it up. So, and somebody else will go, I like the ones with the half sheets because now I can pick the size that I need. And then somebody else will go, well, um, my wife wants the one with a color or pattern that matches our kitchen. And,
Buying
and
criteria.
well, it's right, exactly, and it's their criteria, right? And then
Yeah.
somebody else will go, oh, we go to Price Club or Costco or someplace, and we buy it by the case because it's more economical. So and the reason is the reason for this exercise is a commodity is not a commodity. It
Yeah.
is, as you said, what is our value? What is our differentiator? And something as simple as paper towels, which we'd all go, oh, any of them will do. Trust me, if you got a shopping list and you go by yourself and you bring home the wrong paper towels, you're going to hear about it.
You're gonna hear about it. Absolutely. Well, and so, in kind of summarizing this list, it goes back to a lot of times with people when I think about what we've talked about today, it really it does kind of transfer back to, hey, I'm a president, I'm a sales leader. When I look at the whole idea how to get more innovative about prospecting, to me what I'm hearing is it starts with what are we actually trying to accomplish? Who are we trying to work with? What's the strategy behind it? Does our team understand skill set and process wise how to go about doing it? Because even if I do a great job and be really innovative on the front end with getting someone on the phone, not having the skills of the process effectively to take that and actually get it through the pipe is a question. And as part of that, there's people should probably slow down from what I'm hearing is slow down, take a little bit more time up front and improve the quality of the prospecting they're doing through the targeting and being a little bit more creative or innovative. What are your thoughts? How
Yeah.
would you summarize this for a president? Any other final thoughts or takeaways?
Mine would be get very focused, get clear on your message, find the best vehicle to deliver that. And the one thing we haven't talked about is just take action,
Take action.
because that's the one. People just don't take action, and it's like, okay, why are we not taking action? Because we know what to do, and so are they not hungry? That's one issue. Do they not know how? That's another issue, and that's where the sales leader comes in, of being able to identify those things and then coach them and hold them accountable.
Yeah, and that's why that's why the objective management group evaluation, which I mean we've been using for a long time, is helpful because it becomes not my opinion. It's a baseline against world class, and so it becomes more of a discussion on how to find it. So I agree, that's a massive key. So in the short for all of this, yeah, again, I appreciate the conversation, and I think the whole idea is as sales leaders or owners of the revenue stream, whether it's presidents or sales leaders, taking a different approach maybe to what you're doing today. Hopefully this discussion has been at least giving you some ideas. Reach out anytime. There'll be some links here below, and we'd love to talk to you more about it. Andy, thanks again for joining us.
Jeff, thanks for having me.
All right, have a blessed day.